Hey, Renee.
Hey, Nay.
All right. So you had a subject come up that you had asked. How do you help others that are just in a dark place right now?
Yeah.
And so I thought we could just run through some ideas and such, bring them up so that others, if they're running across somebody who's just in a dark place at that time, they could offer
Yeah.
as help. Okay.
Yeah. Love it.
I think the number one thing that you could always hear from everybody is just offer to listen.
Yeah.
If the person is willing to talk, offer to listen. If they're open to you coming over to their place, go over. Offer to come over. Hey, I know, you're in this mood, Renee, or whatever it is, or you don't even have to address that. Hey, I was thinking of dropping by. Is that okay? Offer to drop by. When you're there,
I would suggest that. I would even suggest that over the typical response of, hey, when you want to talk, I'm here, or hey, you need anything, let me know. That sounds like we're helping, but we're not being proactive in that. We're offering, but we're not doing. And it seems this situation we need to really be more proactive, my opinion.
if they are in a dark place, and that's completely different than somebody, they just don't have their mojo going today. They're just
you're just not feeling it today. Yeah,
not feeling it today. So you're right. You need to be a little bit more proactive in order to initiate, because they're not really in the initiating mode, and so they're probably not going to ask.
Right. That's a great way of putting it. Be the initiator versus waiting for them to do the initiation, because they're in no mood to do it.
When you do it, stay relaxed. They may be anxious or depressed or whatever it is that's having them in that dark place, but don't be all uptight yourself and be all stressed out yourself, because that's just going to feed into it, if that makes sense.
Or hyper mode. We can, because you care so much, you can almost be hitting them like bullets, boom, boom, boom. Well, what about this? Well, why this? Or why are you feeling this? We could be asking too many questions, or we could just be, I'll just say be a little over hyper because we're concerned about the space they're in. That can be even our own emotions projecting on them can be overwhelming.
Irritating.
That too.
Yeah. Offer to pray with them if it seems like that's an appropriate time. So listen, and it may be they don't even want to talk. And then you can just offer to pray, and maybe that will open a door to listen. So it can flip back and forth, but don't just automatically do one thing. Really be there to pay attention to the cues that you need, if that makes sense, for what's appropriate in that moment.
Yeah. And I don't think each person, you'll do the same thing.
You'll be so different.
One friend last week, one friend last week that's in a discouraging place or a broken spirit place, and then a friend this week, in a similar place, but they'll need something different to feed their soul. They'll need something different to hear. Why they're there could be totally different reasons as well. So we can't cookie cutter a remedy.
Correct. So these things that we're offering are just ideas to help you get in so that you could be part of helping them come out of the dark place, or at least helping them to see some light, which is always so hopeful. The other is, and this is not going to sound right, but instead of saying, well, have you given your concerns over to God? That could sound very condemning. But you could ask in a gentle way, what is your conversations with God been like about this? Something like that. That's asking the same thing, but not as in a condemning way.
Yeah. Sometimes we can be so blunt.
Yes.
What does God say about it? Oh, have you talked to him yet? You know, even our tone can make
Our
us,
tone, yes, absolutely. I know I like to share the scripture, Psalms 34:18, because that one, it just talks about how the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And when I think about how the Lord is close to when I'm hurting, I know that he's feeling that too, because if he's so close to me, he can't help but feel the hurt that I have and to understand what I'm going through. And to me, that's so comforting to know that that recognition is there, if that makes sense.
yeah, very much so. He recognizes what you're going through and he walks through it with us. So he'll feel it too.
He'll feel it
But
too.
in that dark place, you don't always think about that. We're
That
not
is
thinking
true.
truth. You know,
Absolutely.
when you're in a dark place or a crushed place, you're not always, a lot of times it's stinking thinking. And it's
Yes.
not truth thinking or
So that's why it's important
God
for
is
us to
thinking.
bring that light in. And the other is just being there. Now, I'm going to go over some ways of being there, but it's just important to be there. You don't have to do anything, but just being with another person helps them a lot of times. Encourage them with your words, but don't over cheerlead, because if you do that, they already know you're just making this up. Oh, you're so good at that. Or that was so wise of you to do that. And you just keep going on and on and on over it. And you're like, seriously, go do cheerleading at the football game. I don't need it. Remember, they're in a dark place. So to have a screaming cheerleader there, a lot of times it's not appropriate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know why this is coming to mind, but it's like having a cupcake and way too much frosting. You know, you just want to just take a bite.
There is great cupcakes, but when you have to scrape off a lot of the frosting because it's just too much, that's a great example. There's nothing wrong with a good looking cupcake until you go to eat it and you're like, it's not what you thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And too much sweetness, whatever.
Yeah, too much sugar. Too much sugar. Sugar's good, but just too much makes you not want to put it in your mouth. There you go. I like that analogy. The other is to come over or to go out. Offer to go out with them. Hey, I'm going over to this place or whatever. Why don't you come with me? We had talked about just going over to their place, fixing a meal for them, or bringing a pizza. When you're in a dark place, eating is not usually something you want to do. Cooking is usually not on the menu as well.
Right.
So just somebody coming over with a pizza, even if you're not hungry for it, the thought that somebody was so kind to do that is huge.
And if you're not
love.
Yeah. And if you're not local, at least mentioning in a loving way without it sounding like a mother, you know, have you eaten today? Just, you know, asking that simple thing about their food intake or their water. And if you're not close to them, maybe offering, what's the closest pizza place to you? I'll call in an order for you and have it delivered, or, you know, they have delivery options.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even just encouraging them to get something in their belly, even if you can't be there physically, and offering even a FaceTime. Hey, you up for a phone call? You up for a FaceTime? Because sometimes there's people that when they get to this place, they'll only go on Facebook and tell people where they're at, or they'll be that kind of public, but they won't be private in regards to being in Messenger or on Facebook Messenger with the video or FaceTiming you. So I'd say even meet them where they're at, where they're willing to communicate. Because I have some people that won't go live with me, or they won't go face to face, but they're cool with texting, really cool with texting. So
you take where you can, absolutely. And in fact, talking about texting, writing an encouraging note or texting is huge. Keeping the communication open, keeping the light going in there.
Yeah. I actually sent something. Shoot, where's my phone? I just sent something to a friend that's kind of been discouraged. I didn't know she was so discouraged until today, but this weekend I saw this candle at somebody's house, and I thought, oh, this friend she needs to get this message. And so I just screenshot it because it was in somebody's bathroom, and so I just screenshot it with my phone and then just sent it to her because it was just a good word, and it said, beloved. It was so good. It said, beloved, you are a beautiful soul, strong, capable, and worthy. Love beyond measure for who you are. I'm like, this friend needed to hear those words. And it was just a picture, but it was my way of just giving her that encouragement.
Yeah, just that little shot of light.
Yeah, that we could do things like that.
Yes.
Even if we don't have scripture.
Okay, another thing you could do is offer to go for a walk or a jog with them. So if you go over there, you're not sure what to say, or they don't feel like talking, that's fine. How about we just go for a walk? Slow walk. Or if they're a runner or they whatever, let's go for a jog, because that gets those good endorphins going. That's really going to help that way wise, if they're all possible, to get them moving.
Mm-hmm. We've done many of those together.
Yep, we have. Physical touch. Physical touch. So some people just need that hug. Others, they just need you to reach across and squeeze their arm or their hand. Just that squeeze of the hand going, understanding. I understand you're in a dark place right now. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, another idea.
Understand the body.
Go outside and wash their car with them. Yeah. Wash their car with them. 2 people washing a car gets a car done really fast. You know, or just go on a hobby with them. Maybe you don't like to fish, but go fishing with them anyway. Go in their garden with them. Whatever hobby, if they like to bowl and you're a horrible bowler, go bowling. Go bowling. They're going to have so much fun. They're going to have so much fun watching you do gutter balls.
Right?
Help them look for moments of gratitude. So in the moments when you can get them to be grateful, grab those moments and just say, isn't it so good to laugh, even for that one moment? In that being there with them, helping them find the gratitude in it, because sometimes you lose gratitude during the whole process.
Oh.
Okay, now here's one that's hard to explain, but don't be sympathetic towards someone when they're actually needing empathy.
Break it down, girl.
So sympathy is listening, and we asked you to listen. So you're going to go to a person who's in a dark place, but you got to figure out if they're needing sympathy or empathy. So sympathy is listening, understanding from your own perspective. Okay? You're understanding the suffering of another, acknowledging the circumstances. You're saying, wow, this happened to you. Now, you've never had it happen to you before, but you can recognize, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry you're in this place. Does that make sense? Empathy is putting yourself in their shoes. You, Renee, could have empathy easily about sexual abuse because you've gone through that before. So it's not hard for you to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, even though different things happen to different people with sexual abuse. You don't have a hard time having your mind go there, if that makes sense.
Right. The relatability is easy.
You're able to experience the actual emotion of what is going on in that person. It's really hard to explain sympathy. Otherwise, the best way that I have is sympathy is giving recognition, and empathy is my emotions being involved.
Feeling it.
Yes.
feeling what they feel. It's like, it's almost a capturing of where they're at emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always pictured it as. It's more relating.
More relating. And that's you and we work with those who have been sexually abused or assaulted because we're able to have that empathy. Now, those who haven't been can still be sympathetic towards others, but we're able to not just listen with this sympathetic ear, but we're also able to, go in there with the emotion and understand at a deeper level as well. And that's what draws our hearts to go in there and help those who have been brokenhearted. And
Absolutely.
they could see that we can relate. And I think that's huge. But I don't think a person needs to be sexually abused to give that recognition. So I want to make sure that's clear.
Right. And I believe we can have empathy even if we haven't personally experienced something. I believe that God can allow us.
Yes.
Yeah. Not to the full scope of it because we haven't had the experience, but I think God can still give us the ability to feel the emotion, some of the emotion that maybe they're feeling.
Sure.
Kind of walk in those shoes as best as we can, though we don't have the experience.
Correct. And there's going to be a time that with those that you're working with, that if they're in a dark place, that you may need to cry with them. It's going to move your emotions to cry with them. But your goal is to eventually help them to come out of it, if that makes sense. Don't go as deep into that darkness that they're in. That's not the purpose of you being there.
And you actually go into a lot more detail even with that. I know with the Thriver Survivor course, you actually you were training the leaders on what's appropriate emotionally and what's not appropriate, turning it back on us. Well, look at us, look at ours, look at this, when we're there to be there for another person, not
right.
ourselves.
That's another good point, is don't compare. Well, I had it a lot worse. I know you're in this dark place right now because of this, but mine was worse. Stop trying to top. And you've seen people do it. You've seen people do it. Wow, my car accident was much worse than yours. This is nothing. You know what? This is something. They've just gone through a traumatic experience of a car accident. And you're saying, well, this isn't as bad as you know. Careful with your words.
Yeah. Or you snap out of it. Those words are not helpful at the time.
All righty. Well, that at least gives a scope for a few things that you can do. I think the biggest thing is being there and asking God to help you be a light to that person if you're the one that's supposed to be, if that makes sense. And if it isn't you, praying and asking God who is, and bring them alongside this person.
Send them. And God has had to do that in my life. I know you've coached me in that regards, Am I supposed to be in every battle? Am I supposed to be at everyone's side? Am I supposed to be at all of these, all these different opportunities? Am I supposed to be the one? And you've challenged me, I know, to check in with God. Am I the one? And if I'm not, then I can pray that God would send that one.
Absolutely.
And ask him, when am I supposed to reach out? When am I supposed to respond? So.
And a lot of times I find that if I do, and I'm going, but I'm still not seeing anybody, God, I could step in if I feel like God's saying, sure, step in. And I'm only temporary. And while I'm listening to their story, I'm realizing that there's some other people around them that they haven't opened the door to. And invite them in. So they can realize they really aren't alone. And that's huge.
Yep.
Especially when you're in a dark spot. All right. Well, thanks for discussing with me today.
That was good. Light, good, but hopefully it helped for sure. Yes. Thanks, Annette.
All right. Bye-bye.